Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm the King Live, and today we're going to be focusing on 5 pro operator tips to help you snipe the ladder. Sorry, I know that title is really cheesy, but that's what I was told to say. But really, my goal today is to help you bring your operator skills to the next level, which is actually incredibly painful for me because I hate going against any good operator users in Valorant. A good op user can easily take over an entire game and bring their team to victory, and that is why it's one of the best guns for you to learn how to use in Valorant. So many players just choose to never use the operator, and maybe it's because of how expensive it is, maybe it's because they feel like it's overpowered, but realistically, it's a tool that is meant to punish players for playing too carelessly, and that is why you should learn to use it, because competitive matches are the definition of playing carelessly. Players are incredibly careless in Valorant, and that is why they hate the operator so much, because it punishes them for playing carelessly, and you can abuse that for yourself. Stick with us as we get into our 5 operator tips, but before we do, let's introduce our question of the day, which is, which Valorant agent do you think watches the most anime? Don't worry, you heard me right. Give me your answers down below, and let's get into the guide. Starting out with our first tip that many op users don't take advantage of enough, I want you, when using the operator for multiple rounds, to mix up your positions and anticipate where your enemy will be going. You may have heard this before, but I'm going to give you some advanced tips involving this because reading enemy players is really an art form, and there are a couple of ways that you can know exactly where your enemies are going to go before the round even starts. For example, if you're using an operator on A site on Haven and you end up getting a pick or 2 in that round, what you'll likely want to do is go play C site next round. You might be thinking, King, why would I go play C site? Well, the reasoning for this is your opponents are likely going to think, alright, we just got rolled by the operator on A, let's go push C instead, where we don't have to deal with that. Now, although there are 3 bomb sites on Haven, players for some reason really like to avoid playing for B site, and for whatever reason that is, you can take advantage of this and more easily predict their movements. Another way of predicting enemy movements is by understanding the points at attack where they are struggling. If your team has a sentinel and they are proving to be annoying for them to push into, you may find that the enemy team will opt to avoid them at all costs. You can use this to your advantage and choose to opt where the sentinel player is not and cause the enemies to run into a brick wall of your own because of this. One more thing you should look for is the enemy team's available ultimates before the round. Players tend to favor the same techniques with their ultimates, and if they used Killjoy ultimate on B once, they're likely prone to use the ultimate on B the next time it's up. If you want to become the most annoying op user on the planet, pay attention to these things and try your best to live in your opponent's mind. Obviously, you're not going to be able to guess right 100% of the time, but if you take time to put yourself in your opponent's shoes, you can oftentimes predict exactly what they are going to do and capitalize on it. And before we move on, if you're really looking to improve, I highly suggest you head on over to SkillCapped.com and check out our hyper improvement system. We have up-to-date lineups, courses on how to climb with all agents, Smurf commentaries where a higher ranked player walks you through how to carry in your rank, and so much more. Come join over 500,000 Satisfy members, improve that KDA, and get the rank that you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Moving on to our second tip for operators though, and that's going to be pre-firing. Specifically, you're going to want to be pre-firing after flashes and smokes are thrown. You see, the big thing that is supposed to make it so operators aren't overpowered is that there is utility in the game meant to deal with them. However, many players are too careless with their application of this utility, and you can take advantage of this. Basically, if you're holding an angle and the enemy knows this, they're very likely to either flash the angle or smoke you off. But what do most players do after using a flash or a smoke? That's right, kids, they peek it. So what you should do as an op user is after seeing a flash or a smoke, take the chance and fire off a shot after about half a second. You're basically rolling the dice here and hoping to hit somebody who swung out at you, and you'll be surprised how many targets you'll kill doing this. Many players might find themselves falling off of an angle after a flash comes in, but this is a great way to give yourself every opportunity that you can to land that shot and win your team the round. One big thing I want to say on this topic is try your best to be aware of your surroundings though, and train your muscle memory for when you're falling back from the angle. Obviously, you don't want to pre-fire them and then stay on the angle. You're going to shoot and then fall back to cover. But if you're in a position where they might push you, it could be dangerous. You don't want to get caught running into a wall or spinning in circles. Try to make sure you know the motions that you need to make to get yourself away and towards safety so that you can maximize the use of this tactic. Speaking of which, this brings us to our third tip for operator users, and that's going to be planning ahead. When using the operator, after taking a shot, you leave yourself extremely exposed, and if you're not careful, it's going to result in you getting yourself killed. To counteract this, you always want to keep in mind what your next move is after you shoot. You want to be quick and decisive, but more importantly, you want to have an escape plan. This is a lot easier when opping on a character like Jett. However, if you're playing Brimstone and decide to use an op, you're going to be a little bit more exposed and vulnerable. Of course, the answer here isn't just to not op when playing a character like Brimstone. Of course, just because you don't have movement abilities doesn't mean your character can't use the operator. However, it does limit your options throughout the round and how safely you have to play. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, if you're playing in a position that forces you to land your shot, you better land your shot, because otherwise you're going to get yourself killed. Instead, it's normally smarter to play in a position that allows you to fall back and fight for another day with your team. Especially considering the operator is so expensive, you really don't ever want to place yourself in a one and done and risk losing such an expensive buy. Moving on to our third tip, which is something that will let you use the operator just a little bit more aggressively, and that's going to be counterstrafing. Basically, if you time your shot correctly, you can line it up so it looks like you're practically full sprinting with the operator. Using this, you can land some very quick peeks and catch your enemies incredibly off guard, and this accounts for a lot of the skill required to use the operator. If you're not careful with your timing here, you're going to be completely whiffing your shots, but not only that, you'll likely be putting yourself in a very bad position to continue fighting. The bottom line is, if you don't know how to counterstrafe with the operator, the only thing you're going to be able to use it for is for holding angles, which the operator is fantastic for holding angles, don't get me wrong, but if you want to use the operator to its full effect and get those flashy clips where you aggressively are peeking things, you're going to have to figure out the timing. You all probably know what counterstrafing is, but in case you don't, basically what you want to do is when moving, tap the opposite directional key at the same time as you fire, and it will make your shot accurate. You can tell if the shot is going to be accurate by the red dot in the center of your crosshairs. And this takes us to our final tip that may sound basic, but is incredibly important when using the operator, and that is going to be crosshair placement. Crosshair placement is always important, but with the operator, too often you'll see players aiming directly at a corner of where they are aiming, which I guess if you drank a gallon of G Fuel might be great. However, for people with normal reaction times, you're going to have to aim further from the corner. I think this comes from people seeing professional players hold really tight angles when using the operator, but I want you to understand when you see stuff like that, it normally comes down to game sense and map knowledge. If a pro is holding that tight of an angle, it's not because their reaction time is insane. It's because they have a reason to believe that the player is going to try to jiggle or approach the angle they are holding more slowly, so they have the time to react to it. Alternatively, it's because they intend to pre-fire the angle rather than hard aim it, and if they intend to pre-fire the angle, it doesn't matter how much of the player they can see, because they're not going to be shooting based off of what they see. They'll be shooting based off of audio and intuition. As a general rule of thumb for op users, you're almost always going to want to aim at a distance away from the wall that you think will give you enough time to react to the target who has swung the corner. Now, of course, there are other things to keep in mind, like is the target going to walk peek, wide swing, jiggle peek, jump peek, crouch peek, but the best thing for you to do is generally prepare for them to wide swing, because this is often going to be the most deadly of the peeks, as if a player is wide swinging you, they are likely looking for that engagement, and if you miss it, it will probably result in your death. Crosshair placement is basically everything when using a gun like the operator, and it's incredibly important to always keep in mind what angles you are pre-aiming or scanning at all points in time. If you're trying to clear angles, make sure that your crosshair is constantly scanning all of the places that your enemies could be playing to give yourself the best chance of killing your target. However, if you already know where your target is, instead you're going to want to pre-aim them and place your crosshair directly where you believe they are, and instead use your movement to help you land the shot. The operator is a gun where it only takes one bullet to kill your target. Try your best to make it as easy as possible to land that one bullet. Lastly, remember, if you want to win more gunfights, improve that KDA, and get the rank that you've always wanted, then be sure to check out SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. I hope this operator guide was helpful for you all. I know the gun gets a lot of hate from people who believe it's broken, but honestly, it's a tool that's in the game for a reason, and it will likely benefit your play to learn how to use it yourself. I pretty much rifle most of the rounds I play in the game, but I'm going to be really making an effort to practice my operator skills over the next act, and hopefully I can despise the enemies as much as my friends despise other op users. Anyway though, if you guys haven't already answered our question of the day yet, which was, which Valorant agent do you think watches the most anime? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. I never really watched much anime, but I've been trying to get into it recently, so that's probably what prompted this question. I just got caught up watching Haikyuu, and that show honestly had me hooked for so long. I'm really excited to start watching my next series. That's gonna do it for us here today though, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel down below for more videos, and as always, I'm the King Live, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.